Down to give the correct orientation. Down in the lower center where you see the line and I think it's number 34 or X or something there in red is where the hostel is. I've just walked northeast along the road that parallels the Lee River, which is to my left, and I've taken the right turn and I'm now on the opposite side of that first Y intersection, and on my right is the Shan Lake Park and some kind of park across the street from here also. Last night was a very rainy night, and this morning very blustery, but not raining, which is absolutely fine. This looks like a very lush, pretty park here in Guilin, excuse me. One of the greats, although I don't know which one. They look like pretty walkways through the greenery, so we will. Here a short but large rocked walkway or bridge, a walking bridge as I believe they call it. There through the trees you can make out the lake. Hey, there in the dead center is Shan Lake that we're standing beside on the south side of it, just above that little what looks like a road that juts into it. And we're looking at two pagodas, 17 and 15 on the map. '17 is the Sun Pagoda on the right, and the other is the Moon Pagoda on the left, and set back from our perspective. And we'll take a closer look at both of these, particularly from this vantage point. That presumably is a Buddhist lotus bud on top. Moon Pagoda. Now I'll walk clockwise around the lake until we come to East Gate. In the process we'll get some views of the lake as well as closer views of those pagodas. The garden's beautifully maintained, but remember this is one of the top tourist sites in China, #1, but in Guilin also. It's certainly warming up for a good rainstorm, I'm thinking. Here, a pretty walkway's been added. These boats I'm panning over right now probably have access to the Lin River, as well as these two lakes and some of the tributaries of the river that run through Guilin. Looking closely at this, you see a difference between the top one, the second from the top, and the third from the top, and the rest of them down to the bottom one appear to be like the third from the top. What each level is used for, I don't know. What each level symbolizes, I don't know. Maybe the levels that are necessary to achieve nirvana under Buddhism. And this is the Moon Temple. Notice the tie-up rings for boats. This is a cute little detail on the sidewalk here. Up the top of the Sun Pagoda now. Correction, that was the moon. This is the sun here. Similar kind of work up at the very top, but then of course the gold treatment is very different. And the sun, of course, as in many cultures, reflecting the sun, golden color. Looking closely at the base, you can see that it's the petals, I would guess, or the leaves of perhaps the lotus blossom. A pretty park, although it lacks the ability to walk completely around the lake, alongside the lake. You have to keep moving out to the perimeter and then back in, but a very pretty environment. Certainly looks pretty as a jewel in the city. And off to my left here should be another lake that we'll go find. Here's the walkway along, but it's rather cumbersome if not dangerous. It's a pretty park, but not designed for people to enjoy by walking around the lake. Here's the passageway to the other lake. It looks like the ceiling attempts to portray with some relief the Guilin karst peaks. Very much a European sense underneath here. Very nice, actually. That's a pretty bridge, done in plexiglass and maybe even glass. It gives a nice effect, particularly I think at night it's probably lit. And unfortunately what they do in China is they allow the resources they build, tourism or otherwise, to begin immediately to deteriorate untouched. And then allow it to be crapped up, as this is, with concession stands, perhaps even to the exclusion of people being able to sit on benches and relax unmolested. It's interesting how the vision of the artist who creates these things is outstanding, or at least good, and then is maligned in the future by those responsible for maintaining it. Good sized fish that just came out. You can only wonder what this decrepit structure was for. Something underground, now totally abandoned. This was once a water feature. Again, other than the very well built and relatively new walkways, it looks abandoned and certainly decrepit. The tiles broken loose everywhere. All of this rock work is relatively new. It's pretty, particularly that bridge down there and this Sishi-like boat out there. But none of it's ancient, whether it once was in some form like this.